welcome to Mind Your Business, the channel where we are in at everybody's business. If you don't mind getting in people's business, you're on the right channel. Talking about current topics and gossip. Well, people, it was the end of the trip. Everybody's gone back to their husbands, and for Tricia, her boyfriend, and then meets up with her husband, which was an interesting sit down. Let's talk about it, people. Well, guys, people, my inquisitive crew, let's talk about Love and Marriage Huntsville. Now, a few things to pick up on, right? So I thought the sit-down dinner, the dinner for the final night of their holiday, it was cute. You've got Melody giving out her roses, which I thought was cute, but her poetry, I was like, did she have to say melody that many times? It's melody, melody, and melodies. I was like, okay, honey, bring it back to you. Why not? Anyway, she done that. She kind of had a little speech. Everyone was saying thank you to her for the girls' trip. And then it got into a bit of the drama between Sunny and Destiny. Now, that came up because basically Mel called out Destiny because she didn't really clap when everyone was clapping her to say, well done on her trip. So Destiny just like, well, do I have to clap? Like, yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's good. I don't really have no problem. My only problem was actually I felt a bit uncomfortable when my friends on the trip were asking Sunny about her conceiving with my ex-boyfriend, basically. So that felt a bit, uncomfortable as a woman. So I thought, well, fair enough, she said her thing. I think it was interesting that Big Bird, Shanita, I remember her name now, Shanita, aka that one that everyone calls Big Bird. Why was she trying to pipe up and get in it again? She's just about to say something about, I think this. I love that Destiny just piped her down and shut her up and just said, let me finish what I have to say. I was like, oop, yes, be quiet, please. So I thought it was interesting that she brought that up, and I thought it was good that, Nell apologised and they acknowledged that, it wasn't done intentionally, it wasn't done to hurt her, but understandable. She's got feelings. But I find it interesting that she's, like I said before in previous recaps, that I think it's interesting that she's so willing to be open about this situation with her and Sunny and, her ex-Moses. But, when it comes to her husband, her ex-husband, we don't hear nothing. I know there was some legal situation around that, and maybe that's probably still, I assume that's why she doesn't say much about it now, because really, I want to know what happened to her ex-husband, because that's a lot. Anyway, sidebar, back to the dinner table. So I thought it was good when the girls, acknowledged Destiny's feelings, but then Sunny was pulling faces, so of course Destiny kind of had to check her about her face pulling and her little attitude and how she's giving apologies, but then saying, well, we weren't friends in the first place situation, which means that you're not really taking on board Destiny's feelings in that situation. So I understood where she came from that, and I thought it was good that Mel even said yes, she was pulling a stank face because she was questioning whether that was the case. So I was like, okay, Mel, yes, keep it real for both of them. Yep, we like that. But I thought Melody wrapped it out quite quickly as well, which was good. She was like, okay, well, she said this, she says that. Okay, right, let's move it on. So I quite like that bit too. Now, when they all come back to Huntsville, we got to see Tricia and Ken catching up, and obviously Tricia's filling him in on what happened there. You can tell Ken is just not really here for all this Martell talk, but he brings up how, it came up at the man them link up as well, and how he didn't like the way Martell saying certain things and how he kind of wants to check him on the side and have a chat with him. So I thought, you know what? I don't blame you. I did catch Tricia throwing shade at Mel, though, saying how, everyone's making it a big deal about being separated, not divorced, separated, and moving on. Difference is that you've moved your man into the house with your children and you're still married. So I think that's a big difference. She's saying Mel did the same thing. Well, I don't know no one that Mel's dated. So if she did that under wraps. And that's probably the best way to do it, because you are still married. Whilst I get it, you separated and you're not with your man no more, but you moving in your new man is very mixed up. Let's just face that. So her trying to throw Mel under the bus to say, oh, well, actually, she done the same thing. It's not the same. It isn't the same. So I didn't really agree with her on that, because also not the same in the sense that Martell had already been cheating on her throughout the whole damn marriage. So by the time she got separated and maybe had a little night with whoever or whatever she did, it was a very different situation. She had been cheated on, she had tried, and then decided, enough's enough. So I don't see that as giving the same energy as what's given between Tricia and Marquise and Ken. It's not really the same. Now, I also thought it was interesting when Kimmy sat down with Maurice and, of course, filled him in on all that. Kimmy's a funny one to me. Like, I've always liked Kimmy, but I was like, why is she so anti-girls trip? She's come back talking about, she don't know, she needs to do another one, and that's her first and last by the sounds of it. I'm just like, Kimmy, she just likes to be up underneath Maurice. But she was telling, Maurice about the mix-up she had with Nell and how that kind of pissed her off. Now, I thought it was interesting when they started speaking about, the whole Ken and Tricia situation, and I have to agree with Maurice. I do feel like Ken gives a vibe that he does love her more, and I do feel like Tricia is slightly, hesitant maybe about getting married because of what happened to the last one. There's something there that's not adding up to me. Also, I thought was interesting was when we saw Tisha with Marceau, and of course Tisha's fin in Marceau and all the mix-up. Now, he did crack me up because there's one point that he said when she mentioned this new friend, Shanita, and he's like, well, who's Shanita? And he's like, okay, I think I've seen her, but yeah, don't worry, she won't be here next year. Essentially saying Mel can't keep friends, because every season she has a new friend, and I can't lie, that has really been happening. And it kind of reminded me of Martell. Martell was speaking to, I believe, Tiffany. Her name, Tiffany. Remember Tiffany Whitlow? I feel like there's a conversation at one point where he told her Mel never keeps friends, basically. And there's always a mix-up with her and her friends. So I'm like, at this point, I'm looking sideways like, well, the ones that we see in the TV show, that might be the case because, it's definitely giving that at the moment. But it did crack me up. Also, I thought it was interesting when Marceau and Tisha were kind of comparing stories about how the whole Martell and Tricia link-up happened. Now, I thought it was interesting because the math was definitely not mathing, because you've got Martell telling the guys, apparently, that she came to his house a couple of times and they just watched a movie. And whereas Tricia, we know she's been saying she went there once and she went to go and train him. But Marceau made a good point, which was the man didn't have no gym in his house, so where are they going to train? And at this point, I'm side-eyeing both of them because something ain't right. The math is not mathing, and we know Tricia already lied. So is she just lying again? Because if she is, it's just not helping her look. It's not at all. So yeah, I definitely was side-eyeing that bit. Anyway, later on, the interesting part for me was when we saw Tricia, Ken and Marquise, her husband, actually sit down and have their little catch-up. And I thought it was interesting because at first I thought, you know what? I still feel like Tricia and her ex need some sort of therapy because the way that she still has there's a lot of emotion between the two of them. Hers is more giving like she's fed up and she's a bit annoyed with him, whereas his is definitely giving him quite emotional person. But I thought actually it was really interesting seeing them catch up. I felt like Marquise was trying to talk in riddles a little bit, trying to say that, he wants to be there. And obviously, long story short to me was that he just feels uncomfortable knowing that there's another man in the house and that this man is providing and protecting and being there for the kids, being a father role, essentially, something that he stepped away from. And now I feel like he feels guilty and feels a bit bad about it. And it just feels a bit shit in it because at the end of the day, some other man's in your space now. He's talking about giving my daughter cuddles and tucking her in at nighttime. So I thought that was interesting. I felt like Ken handled it very, very well. You could see that Tricia was almost about to get into a back and forth with Marquise. But I felt like Ken, once he did speak up, he really handled it really well, very maturely, and was just saying at the end of the day, you've got to be real at the end of the day. Like, I'm there for the kids, but I'm not there to get in the way. So I felt like it was really nice to see that they were able to speak as men. And Ken was saying, he wants them all to be there and be able to get along and be able to function as a family, essentially. And I thought that was really nice. I feel like Ken's a really good guy and he seems very genuine. And I felt like that meeting went well because of his attitude towards everything, He's very much, this is how it is. Let Marquise have his say, but also make sure he had his say. And his say to me was much more to the point. Whereas Marquise, it felt like he was kind of dodging around and then coming back saying, I was there, but I moved in and I was travelling. But then, because if you're travelling and you've moved out the house, how are you saying you're there? You're not there then. You're not making any sense. So then he turns around and says, yes, I do own it. But then also saying, you guys have got each other and I've got no one. I haven't got a woman. I just felt like he's just in a very bad place where he feels like, he's watching his whole family be really happy with another man in the house and it's not him. And so it's making him feel shit. Had he stepped up to the plate and done the things he needs to do as a dad, I don't think there'd be any shoes to fill at this point. So that's on him at the end of the day. I just feel like that's on him. So it's a hard pill to swallow. I did feel bad for him at the end when I saw him crying and stuff. But Tricia made me laugh. Tricia's attitude was more like, oh, here he goes again with the waterworks. He'll cry and, but he won't change. I was like, oh, she is definitely over his nonsense, definitely. But yeah, he's definitely still hurt from the whole situation. He still loves her, still wants to be with his kids. But yeah, it's that ship has sailed. She has moved on to Ken and Ken is doing a good job for the kids and providing and buying them a car and taking them overseas. Of course you're going to feel a bit rubbish, but maybe step up to the plate and try and do better. Do you know what I mean? like I said, Tricia was very unmoved, and yeah, I thought that was interesting. But anyway, I thought the episode was all right. It was not too bad. That little sit down was quite good to see, and I think it was important as well to show that Black families can, coexist together and can be cordial and able to move forward in a positive way. So I thought that was a good way to end it. Next week looks like it's going to be quite interesting with Maurice's DUI coming up. So hopefully we'll get into a bit of that. Anyway, people, of course, I check out social media to see what people were saying on there. Here are some tweets that had me cracking up. Okay, so you've seen those tweets and you've heard what I've had to say. Now, what are you saying about the episode? What do you think of the whole sit down between Ken, Tricia and Marquise? Do you think they handled it very well? What do you think about the whole mix up between Sunny and Destiny? But anyway, what do you think of the show? Let me know your thoughts below. Yes, so thanks for watching that. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share and hit that notification bell so you know when I am uploading some more of people's business. So until then, my nosy people, stay blessed.